Good evening, I'm Josh Jones, and this is the Critical Review presentation of Rachel Carson's Silent Spring. Rachel Carson's Silent Spring was published in 1962. Before that, a little bit about the author. She was a marine biologist. She also became a writer, and that's what she focused in. She was an ecologist and a scientist. She began her career working at the U.S. Bureau of Fisheries, and then later became the editor-in-chief during her 15-year career at the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service. During that time, she published numerous works that were acclaimed all over the U.S. She was very well known for her simple, descriptive, and educational writing style. She was very good at taking complex chemistry that can be very difficult to understand and just explaining it in a very simple manner that the average person would be able to understand. Some of her different literary works, you can see 1962 is when Silent Spring was published, still available today all over the world. She died 2 years after the publishing from breast cancer. She really hoped to change the way humankind viewed the natural world, and she really challenged agricultural scientists, chemical scientists, and governments and health officials on what they thought they knew about our understanding of the world and the environment and the chemicals that they thought they understood more about than they really did. Now a little bit about the time period. DDT and some of the different chemicals that are explained in Silent Spring began being used during World War II as ways to prevent malaria, prevent cholera outbreaks, and a lot of different illnesses that were spread by bloodborne parasites like mosquitoes and flies and different things like that. So it was first developed as a synthetic insecticide in the 1940s. You can see in the picture there that's a soldier in Italy spraying a woman's hair. There was a nasty cholera outbreak after the Nazis broke levees that released floodwaters and started the spread of mosquitoes, and it just went rampant. DDT was very important during that time for preventing huge, massive illnesses from breaking out, like malaria and typhus. So it was mainly for insect control. It was discovered by a Swiss chemist named Paul Muller. Okay, it was used all over the U.S. for many different things. You can see in the picture there. They're spraying it on the beach on kids in 1953. Most people unquestionably accepted it, and it was common use for the public to be using it. And at that time, the adverse effects on people's health was really not known, nor the environment, how it would infect the environment. That led way to many commercial products. Again, it's being sprayed in neighborhoods to kill mosquitoes. And there was wallpaper that had these chemicals put in it that they would advertise as being safe for your children's room. They would keep away bugs and keep away flies and germs. There were over 10,000 new registered pesticides with the USDA by 1952. So the huge rise in synthetic chemical pesticide use during this time. Many agricultural companies didn't know about the effects and was sold to the public as like this life-saving chemical. And they, for the most part, took it without question. Here's an airplane spraying DDT over Oregon. There was a budworm problem, and they were trying to fix that. Now, when it was actually published, this changed a lot of different things. It criticized the use of these pesticides that were being used in the chemicals. It really addressed the harmful effects that humans have on the environment. Now, Carson argued that once these pesticides entered into the biosphere, they would work their way up through the food chain. from mosquitoes and flies to larger animals and fish and birds and other large animals. Eventually, us, they would cause, could cause illnesses and death. Some of the data that was used wasn't new to the scientific community. She was just the first to really take it and put it in the public eye. She was heavily criticized by the industry because it questioned everything that we thought we knew about it, and put them on the hot plate, so to speak. Some of the different things raised about how insects can develop resistances to this. And through that immunity that they develop, it would put the ecosystem health at risk by causing large famines, different things of that nature. Now, the influence of this piece of literature was pretty incredible. Very shortly after the book was published, people started interviewing her, doing live television broadcasts with her in them. She was eventually called to the Senate subcommittee on pesticides, where she testified June 4th, 1963. And this eventually led to the reversal of pesticide use and standards policy in America, an outright banning of DDT in 1972 fully by the EPA. This was under the Toxic Substances Control Act of 1976, where the EPA directed the public, directed the EPA to protect the public from unreasonable risk of injuries to death or the environment. Right? And that banned and severely restricted the use of DDT, chlordane, heptachlor, and those other three that were very common. Some of the DDT effects that we know of today, it's very persistent in the environment. It degrades very slowly. So even though DDT has been banned since 1972, we still have DDT trace amounts in our environment, in water, in soil samples where it was used. That actually collects in fatty tissues of organisms, whether that's humans or animals, and it can also travel very long distances in the upper atmosphere. It was internationally recognized, and over the years has been put out in all these different languages so everybody can read it. But more than anything, it really popularized modern ecology for the everyday person. There was this understanding that we don't really understand all these things, and there was questions about it that we didn't know, and she was the one that put it into a readable form for the general audience and questioned everything and made people understand that, hey, we are on this planet and we need to take care of it, and we can't just expect to control it through the use of chemicals. Now, that environmental movement in America is really credited to her. She claimed that rather than attempt to control nature through the use of chemicals, we must make strides to live cooperatively with the environment. This is getting even more important and more widespread in our world as issues come up like global warming and climate change. The Silent Spring Institute is another organization that popped up in 1994 they dedicated their organization to Rachel Carlson. But they're committed to supporting new research methods and discovering preventable causes of cancer, like breast cancer in women, through the use of partnering with public officials, researchers, and scientists to identify and break the links between environmental chemicals and women's health. Thank you for watching. Hope you enjoyed that. Have a wonderful Christmas.